Hello, how is everyone doing today? I'm your host, Joe Fernandez, a part of the marketing team over here at Tech30. Thank you all so much for tuning into the webinar. Today we have Application Engineer Trevor Silence, and he's going to be comparing the similarities and differences between Mathcad 15 and Mathcad Prime. And we also have Ron Zabilski, a solutions consultant for Tech30. And just a reminder that if anyone has any questions, please drop them in the chat box or the question box, and we will try our best to answer these at the end of the webinar. And now I'm going to be passing it over to Ron, and he will give you a little background information of who Tech30 is and what we offer.
Thank you, Joe. Just want to welcome everyone and just state that as we are conducting this webinar, you're very much encouraged to engage with us. You'll be able to ask questions and leave comments on the sidebar in the GoToWebinar panel. Even if you have questions or comments that don't relate to the specific topic today, feel free to ask them and we can address them in our follow-up emails or in a future webinar. Please also view us as a conduit to get feedback to the PTC Mathcad product managers and development team. As most of you are aware, Mathcad is more of a niche product within the PTC portfolio. And so let's build a community and get the features that are most requested prioritized for future Mathcad releases. Please use this platform as an opportunity to influence the direction of the product development roadmap. Also, I'm happy to receive comments or questions by email anytime after the webinar. Next. So as Joe said, I'm Ron Zabilski. I'm a solutions consultant with Tech30. And Tech30 is a value-added reseller of PTC products. We're also an engineering services company that helps engineering companies do engineering. We do this with the tools from PTC and other OEMs to help our customers make it the most of these tools through training and engineering services. We strive to get to know you and your business, and we are at our best when we can actually expand the business of our customers and build a community by connecting them with those who may benefit from networking together. Next. So the company was established in 2002. We currently have over 80 employees, with more of them, most of them being engineers. We have 50 engineers. Our headquarters is in Mission Viejo, California, but we're distributed around the U.S. to meet our needs of our customers. I'm located in the Boston, Massachusetts area, and Tech30 does have a small business status as well as 4 business units. First of all, we have the PTC software. We also represent a number of companies for 3D printing and additive manufacturing. We do engineering services, and we also support Siemens software. We can provide a wide range of engineering services, including mechanical and electrical designs, static, dynamic, and kinematic analysis, design for manufacturing, assembly, and additive manufacturing, new PLM implementations, system integrations, and migrations, as well as training and services for all the above. Tech30 can provide these services to areas of engineering and design where you currently do not have any expertise, or supplement your existing in-house capabilities. Next. So, as a value-added reseller for PTC, we focus on these products. Mathcad, of course, has today, but also Creo, Windchill, ThingWorx, and Vuforia. Next. We also have a broad range of 3D printing companies that we represent. You can take a look at these technologies on this page, and I won't go into a lot of detail, but just to keep in mind that we focus on industrial use cases for 3D printing, both in plastics and in metals. We help our customers make additive manufacturing become part of their finished product, or use it for tooling, fixtures, and jigs. If you do have any interest in these areas, please contact me afterwards and we can have a conversation about your use case. Next. So today's webinar is about Mathcad and the main reason why you're all here today. Before I pass the presentation over to Trevor, I want to inform you of some of the services that Tech30 does provide around Mathcad. We not only sell the software, but we provide a unique value-added services to ensure that our customers make the most of their software purchase. So, but what does the First, the value of Mathcad as a software. Well, main is automation, basically reuse of the calculations. It's also very collaborative, sharing of those calculations and worksheet in an easily understood document. And then the natural math, creating calculations as you would on paper that everyone can understand with no coding or development experience necessary. Next. One of the unique services that we offer is conversion services for Mathcad. Customers often see the value of standardizing on a tool such as Mathcad to make it more collaborative and efficient within their organization. This becomes and will become more apparent as Trevor gets into his presentation. However, one of the barriers to adopting Mathcad is getting calculations from other formats into Mathcad. We're all busy at our primary job function, so who has the time to bring legacy Excel files, hand calculations, MATLAB files, or even Mathcad 15 files into Mathcad Prime? That's where Tech30 can come in. You give us your calculations in whatever format they're in, and we'll convert the data for you and hand you your new Mathcad files. We even train your users to use Mathcad to ensure maximum use of the tool. So if this is a situation that describes your state of engineering calculations, please let us help you. Next. So with that, I'm going to be turning the webinar over to Trevor to show you the differences between Mathcad 15 and Mathcad Prime 5. So with that, Trevor, it's all yours.
All right, thanks, Ron, for the great introduction. So today we're going to be looking at comparing Mathcad 15 and Prime 5. There are some changes from these versions. There are UI changes. Formatting options have also been adjusted. Your plotting functionality has been improved by switching over to Prime. The functions execution is a little bit different, and the way that custom programs and automation is done is also a little different. And then at the end, like Ron previously said, we're going to show you how to convert worksheets from Mathcad 15 to the Prime 5 format. So some use cases for this webinar and for the stuff we're going to show in this webinar is knowing when to use each software. That way you can leverage the tools present in the versions as necessary. And if you're coming from Mathcad 15, it may help you feel more comfortable in using Prime 5. And vice versa, if you are coming from Prime 5 and you may need to use Mathcad 15, then hopefully this webinar can help you feel a little bit more comfortable with adjusting and switching over to that. And at the end of the day, we're going to take a Mathcad 15 worksheet and convert it over to that Prime 5 worksheet. On the right-hand side, you can see a little bit of the Prime 5 stuff on the bottom and the right-hand side, and then we have a Mathcad 15 graph there above. So you can already see how it's a little bit different. So the first thing I want to talk about is our user interface differences. In Mathcad 15, it's a little bit older software, so the user interface is going to reflect that. There are some unique things that you can do in Mathcad 15 that you can't do in Mathcad Prime. A lot of the preferences and worksheet options have more options in Mathcad 15 than in Prime 5. It's been simplified as they went forward with the Prime series. You can compare two worksheets in Mathcad 15. Also, they have a spell check ability, which is pretty great. The user interface does rely on drop-downs instead of a ribbon, as in you'll see a little bit in Mathcad Prime 5. There's also a limit on the decimal places you can have. You can have up to 17 decimal places. Most of the time, you probably won't need more than that. You can also insert a time in the header and footers, whereas in Prime, you can only do the date. And they do give you these control options like sliders, buttons, list and check boxes. Also, you can copy into Mathcad, but you're not actually able to copy from Mathcad. So in Prime 5, you can actually copy an object in Mathcad into like a Word document, but it doesn't work quite the same for Mathcad 15. They also have an autosave feature, which is not present in Prime 5. To go over some UI differences in Prime 5, we can separate overlapping regions horizontally and vertically. You can also tab to move to different regions or go to a different, go backwards. Once you create a matrix or row matrix in Mathcad 15, you're not really able to edit how many rows and columns it has, but in Prime 5 you can do that. You're also able to mix units in your matrices or tables or plots. And then it does have support for 64-bit architecture. And like I said previously, you can copy paste to and from Mathcad Prime 5. A lot of the operators have been simplified or improved in the updates as well. And as you can see, our options are a little bit different here, whereas Mathcad 15, you may have this worksheet options here and preferences here. In Prime 5, you have your preferences here, and your worksheet options are going to be in these two sections. So I'm going to hop over into both softwares. I have this sheet preloaded here, so we could see some stuff. If you notice, there's an incorrect spelling mistake here. So I'm going to first do a compare worksheet. And so I'm going to compare with this other worksheet I have, just to give you guys a little visual on how this works. So you can see that there's a difference here, and this is the spelling. I added this R here so we'd have something different. Then I also removed this slope box here in this worksheet. So you can see how Mathcad 15 is able to point out some differences. Once I remove this box, there's a lot of differences down here because the whole worksheet is basically different after we remove this. And then it does point out this spelling difference there as well. If I actually want to do a spell check, I can just go in and click on the spelling button. And then as you can see, it located this word here. So I'm just going to change it to beam, which was intended. So also another thing is there are protected regions. For example, you can open this up and you can see this region has been protected from editing. You can protect your whole worksheet or just a region. You also do have this ability in Mathcad Prime, but it's a little bit different. You have to create an area and then protect the whole area instead of just like one specific region. Something to take into account. Like I said before, we do have some of these options, worksheet options. All 6 tabs are here. So there's a lot of different options to choose from. A lot of customization available in Mathcad 15. We can also open up our preferences here, and we do have another 7 tabs of preferences. You won't have as many preferences and options as you do in 15 as you do in Prime. So if I hop over to Prime, you can see that we do have these worksheet options that were present before. They've just been put into ribbon format. And there are some document options here as well. You can change the margin size. So another thing added in Prime is they have grids, where grids weren't really present. You can't have grids at all in Mathcad 15. So that's something to be aware of. Also, like I said, there's no ability to add time. You can add a date in the header and footer, but you can actually add a time to that. And then we do have areas here which we can use to protect different regions. And then we can add some other things here from the ribbon. So a few user interface changes. Functionality is similar, but it definitely are some differences between both versions. Formatting options is another big change from Mathcad 15 to Prime. They have a lot of formatting options in Mathcad 15. You can make your own custom text styles. You can change the background color of your sheet. And you can even format options for specific like equations, results, text. There are align regions option, which is not present in Mathcad Prime. And like I said, we have these custom text styles. So there's like 4 windows here where you can do formatting, whereas in Prime, you kind of just have these ribbons here where you have a text formatting, a math formatting, and then there is another ribbon where it's just document formatting. I can show you that in a second as well. You do have the ability to hide or show your grid. And like I said, it's not as comprehensive as the formatting options in Mathcad 15. There are no custom label styles, but you can change the predefined label styles to fit your needs. So like I said, for Mathcad 15, a lot of the document formatting options are here, like the letter size, the grid, whether you want a fine grid or standard grid. And then we have our formatting options. These are the label styles. And so if you have a unit in your sheet, it's going to show up as this blue color. You're actually able to change the color here. And then if you were to type a unit in your sheet somewhere, you're always able to select this unit here, and then it would also change that color in the sheet from just a black normal variable. So if I just did this here and I change this to a unit, you can see that it turned that light blue color. So you do have the option to kind of change the formatting, but you can't really create your own custom styles. So just a few differences as far as formatting goes. Plotting functionality has also been, it's also a lot different from Mathcad 15 to Mathcad Prime. In Mathcad 15, the plots as a whole are kind of simple. They look relatively simple. Maybe that's due to the age of the program. But there is one function that is not present in Prime, and that's the ability to animate plots. You can animate other things, but plots are a great example. And I can just show you what this animation looks like. I'll hop into Mathcad 15 in a second to show you exactly how to create this animation. So this is pretty cool to have. It's good to know that you can do this in Mathcad 15. Unfortunately, you can't do that in Prime. You also do have ability to plot vector fields and 3D bar plots in Mathcad 15, but not in Mathcad Prime. So in Mathcad Prime, these are what some of the normal plots look like. We do have statistic plots like box plots and some other plots that aren't present in Mathcad 15. And we also have these chart components, which can be customized and give you like a really good looking chart that you can use in publications, or just if you need something that's a little bit more polished than just the default options here. So let me hop into Mathcad 15 and I can show you guys how to do this animation. So this is what we're going to be animating. I'm just going to go into Tools, Animation, click on Record. And then once this is open, I'm going to drag a box around the area that I want to animate. And so we're going to go up to 100 frames. And then as I animate, you can actually see a preview of it in this little window here. And then once it's done, once it's reached 100, you have a recording that you can then save and play back or post somewhere if you need to show somebody the behavior of a function over a certain amount of time. And this is a great way to do that. You don't have this option in Mathcad Prime. So in Mathcad Prime, here I have a plotting worksheet here for you. We have some cool plots that are available, but we don't have that animation. We do, however, have the chart components at the bottom here. And so within a chart component, you can double click on it and it brings up this totally separate user interface. And from here, you can add things like a title. You can do a bunch of different changes to the visibility, to the view of this plot and this chart in order to make it as polished as you would like. So this is definitely an improvement over Mathcad 15 as far as the look of this. But if you're trying to animate something in Prime, it's not going to happen. So let's go on to our function execution. So in Mathcad 15 and in Prime, there are lots of built-in functions. We do have Excel components, as you can see from this box here. And there also are solve blocks and symbolics. However, the solve block does not really come in a component as in Prime, which you'll see in a second. Symbolics are pretty much the same. They work relatively the same as in Prime and 15. So there's not too much changed there. I believe there are some extra terms here. And then if we're to look in the calculus tab, we can do regular derivatives, or in Mathcad 15, you can actually even do partial derivatives, which is not an option in Prime. For functions in Prime, the user interface is different again. It comes in this ribbon here. This is an example on the left-hand side of a solve block. So it actually tells you where the guess values, constraints, and the solving functions or terms will go. Whereas in our solve block for 15, it's you kind of have to know where they go. It doesn't really give you a layout. So it's something to be aware of when you're going to and from. This is also an Excel component here. So this functionality for Excel components is pretty much the same between 15 and Prime. There are a few differences, but not very many. There are some new file access functions, updated ones in Prime. They have improved performance of the discrete Fourier functions. There's also full unit support, improved numeric performance, and they have a built-in signal image processing and data analysis extension pack. They also have improved performance on some other functions. And like I said, we do have these in improved or updated solve blocks here. So I can hop over into our Mathcad Prime. So this is our Excel sheet with our data input functions like write Excel. And then here we have our Excel component. It's pretty similar to the one you have in 15. You can just double click and then you have, it opens up an Excel object here. The same effect happens if you were to do this in Mathcad 15. For custom programs, it's also very similar, Mathcad 15 and Prime. You can pretty much do the same thing in 15 that you can do in Prime. The layout is a little bit different. So if you see this here, we have 100, and then, so instead of like a programming language where, as in on this example, where you have an if statement and then you have your value that corresponds to that if statement that follows, in Mathcad 15, you actually put the value that corresponds to the if statement in front of the if statement. So it's just a minor change here in the layout of the program, but overall is same function that you can have. You can do conditional programs, recursive programs. You can do pretty much every program that you could do in 5, you could do in Mathcad 15. Here we have a factorial where we use recursion to do this. And likewise, I have a sheet in Mathcad Prime where I'll show you the recursion as well. Here's the same thrust function that was here, but in Prime. So they have new if then else operators. Another thing that's pretty cool in Prime that I like is you can create a program from the symbolic. So you can actually have a symbolic equation and have it solved fully, and that'll give you a programmatic response there, which then you can then cite later in your paper and use to solve your function. So if I hop over into Prime 5, here we have our symbolics here. And so you can see, I can go down to this example where we get that program to come out. Oops. Yes, so here we have our solve fully Prime, recursion. Let me open it up real quick. There we go. So here we have our recursion program, factorial. It's the same one that you would see in the Mathcad 15 PowerPoint slide. And like I said before, here we have our symbolics that solve into solve blocks, or that solves into a program response. So those are some pretty nifty tools in both Prime 5 and 15. However, this programmatic response is only Prime 5. The last thing I wanted to go over is how to actually convert a worksheet from Mathcad 15 into the Prime 5 format. So here you can see just an example of the original document and how we're converting it over into this Mathcad Prime format. And so the way you do this is there's actually a button on the ribbon you can click. It's the XMCD to MCD converter. And this will open up a window here where you can then add a worksheet and then go ahead and do the conversion. So I'm actually going to do that conversion for us right now. I'm just going to close this as you need to have Mathcad 15 closed in order to do the conversion in Prime. So I'm just going to be in this empty sheet here, and we're going to use the XMCD to MCD converter. I'm going to add the worksheet, and then I'm just going to pick the one without the spelling errors, the original document that we have here. And so you can also add references if there are other worksheets that are being referenced or that are being referenced by this worksheet. You can add those, and then it'll do the conversion and make the appropriate references to that as well. And so once you have all the worksheets here and your references added as needed, you can just click on the convert button. I already have this converted, but I'm just going to overwrite it so that we can see the whole process from the start. As you can see, it's in progress. It does tell you the version that you're converting from. And then as it finishes, you'll see some log here of the changes that have been made. So let me go ahead and drag this up so we can see. So it does tell you there are 33 regions in this document, and in the conversion process, 8 of those regions are different now. 7 of them are just display differences, so this doesn't affect the functionality. One of them is unsupported. In plots in Mathcad 15, you can have a secondary y-axis. However, in Mathcad Prime, that secondary y-axis is not included. So what it does is it actually combines both of those axes into one. So let's go ahead and see this document. So it's converted. I'm just going to open it up now. Let's go back to our, here we go. And so here's our document with conversions. As you can see, there's some red lines here. These are annotations, and they'll tell you what what exactly is different here. So these red lines mean something has changed, something is different. In most of our cases for this worksheet, it's just going to be a display option has changed. So it's not going to affect the functionality, but it's still going to point those out to you so you know that if it doesn't look the same as it did in your Mathcad 15 worksheet, this is why. It's because it's been changed from the update from 15 to Prime. So we'll just go through these. These are all display ones. The only one that is not display is this one where we do not have the secondary y-axis anymore. We also don't have these frame variable anymore. So that's why we're having that's why this is not plottable at the moment. But if I just change this to some value here, you can start to get a plot. Let's see. Let me remove these units here too, because the unit handling has been changed in the update from 15 to Prime. So you can kind of remove the units and actually have Mathcad Prime fill in the units for you. So as you can see, we removed it and it filled in newtons here, joules, and then meters here. And likewise, I can get rid of this feet here, and then we have another distance unit. So in Mathcad 15, you actually have to remove the units from your functions before plotting them, whereas in Mathcad Prime, it actually handles these units. So you can see how this is one step of our animation. However, we can't animate it in Prime, so there's nothing really we can do to get it to look exactly the same as our Mathcad 15 document. And then, yeah, if you are interested in these annotations, you can always click, and then it'll tell you a little description here of what is going on. And once you're done looking through your worksheet, you can go ahead and clear these annotations, and then your worksheet will just look like a normal Mathcad worksheet. So I can actually go into our document, show the grid again, maybe increase my margins to narrow. So there's a lot of different stuff that you can do in Prime 5 that you may not be able to do in 15, and there's also a lot of stuff in 15 that you're not able to do in Prime. So it's good to know what to do and like which software is going to give you that ability. So some takeaways for our webinar today is there are a lot of changes in features, functions, and the user interface going from Mathcad 15 to Prime 5. Some functionality has been improved and added while others have been removed. So it's good to know which application to use to accomplish specific tasks, especially if you're coming to or going to Mathcad 15 or Prime 5. And it's also great to be able to convert a Mathcad 15 worksheet into a Prime 5 worksheet. And then those annotations are going to show you where things have changed from the original sheet. So with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions. Thanks for watching and participating here. So yeah, any questions, please.
All right. Thanks, Trevor. Great presentation. We actually have a question from Allison Liedl. And her question is, if I have a Mathcad Prime license subscription, do I have access to Mathcad 15?
Yes, so if you have a Mathcad Prime license, you can access Mathcad 15. However, you can't have them both open at the same time. So it'll only be one or the other. You have to make sure that your Prime's closed in order for 15 to work. But it does give you access to not just Mathcad 15, but any older versions of Prime as well.
Okay, and she also has another question, and her question is, Mathcad 15 allows a lot of customization for unit display. In Prime, can I customize more than the generic SI/USCG? Example, display units quotations in rather than quotations FT for default.
So I know in Mathcad Prime they only have like the two kinds of units here, like you said, SI, USCS, and CGS. It is possible to create your own unit. So that would just be like maybe you have some kind of unit that you can multiply with another unit, and then you can define that as a custom unit. So I don't know, I could do HH and then maybe meters times let's see, seconds or something here. Maybe it's just S. Yeah. So then I could define this as a unit itself, and then I kind of have my own custom unit that I can use as I want. So you can't really define your own system here, but you can do a unit by unit basis that can then be used through the rest of your document.
All right, and we also have a question from Mark Pearl, and his question is, Do you know when Prime 6 will be released and what new features in it will have?
I don't. I've been looking for the yearly schedule for the Prime releases, and they haven't let us know when Prime 6 will be released, unfortunately. So I can't really comment on that or what updates. I'm hoping they include some more stuff from Prime 15, as I know a lot of users are coming from Prime 15 or not Prime 15, but Mathcad 15. So it'd be great if we could have some more of that customization or even like the animation stuff in Prime 5. But I'm not sure what they're doing with it. I've been looking around. I don't really see any updates on the timeline there. But if we do find something out, I'll be sure to let you guys know about that.
Cool, yeah, and then I'm sure when that comes out, we'll also have some webinars to go along with that. And then another question from Allison Liesel. Is there an efficient way to add a word block in Prime, or do you have to click the bottom at the top to specify? Or click the button at the top to specify?
Yeah, so the best way, you can right click and insert a text block like this, or insert a text box, depending on what you want to do. A text block will just go across the whole page, whereas a text box will just be a box that you can actually change the size. But you don't have to go up into the ribbon and insert whatever box you want. You can actually just right click here and do that.
And we also have a couple questions from Mason Karbashian. And his question is, subscripts or dots are easy in 15 while a mouse click on the ribbon in Prime. True? Question mark.
So you can do subscripts without the buttons or without the ribbon. You just have to know some hotkeys. Like this one would be, I think it's like the actual subscript for like a matrix or a vector or something. They do have, I can't remember which one it is, but they do have one for control and minus would be just like a literal subscript, whereas if you hit the left bracket, then that gives you an actual index. So there are some hotkeys for it. You may just have to get familiar with the interface a little bit. As far as like multiplication, is that what you meant by dots, or maybe some clarification on the dot part? But as far as subscripts go, there are some hotkeys. Most of the stuff in Prime has hotkeys. It's just a matter of getting used to using those, looking them up if you need to.
All right, thank you. And he has one more question, and his question is, any plans to support secondary y-axis in plotting in Prime?
There are no plans that I know of to support that. Hopefully when we get some more information about the coming releases of Mathcad Prime, maybe that's a feature we'll be able to see there. I know a lot of users have been requesting updates to just the basic plotting, not so much the chart components, because those are pretty specific use case, but for documentation purposes, a lot of people are talking about having updates for those plotting things that they've seen in Mathcad 15 that they'd like to see in Prime 5.
All right, thanks, Trevor. It looks like we have no more questions. So with that, I just want to remind everyone, if you have not already, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be posting this webinar on our YouTube channel later on today. And on our YouTube channel, we have plenty of Mathcad, Windchill, and Creo content, so feel free to pass those along to your friends, your colleagues, and be sure to also subscribe to our channel and follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn to get information regarding upcoming events, webinars, and other content as well. And if you could please stick around for 10 to 15 seconds after the webcast ends, and please leave a comment letting us know what else you would want to see for future Mathcad webinars, and answer our quick survey. That would be awesome. And once again, thank you all so much for attending this webinar, and have a great day. Thank you.